Hello, welcome back to another video. In this video, I'm going to go over my predictions on Bitcoin and where I think it'll go within the next few months and few weeks. And yeah, hopefully it brings you some form of insight. So I'll start it off on the weekly time frame. The monthly time frame. So just on a naked chart with just fair value gap showing. So there's one thing I've noticed is if you look at this candle here, it came into this monthly fair value gap without ever coming back down to it within the next few months. So once price has tapped into this fair value gap, price never came back down and retested this fair value gap. And so for me, this is a sign of strength because it shows price showing a strong movement into a fair value gap and a strong movement out of a fair value gap. So it's kind of a clear indication of price grabbing some form of liquidity, grabbing some form of strength for therefore to continue higher. And as you can see, once we got that fill of a fair value gap, we take our distance of our candle, and those are our targets for that particular signal. As we can see, price from the high obviously went higher and continued. So you get this signal very rarely on the monthly time frame. As we can see, we had this signal here on this candle. So basically that was our fair value gap, right? Price wicked into it right here. And when price wicked into it, we never came back into this fair value gap. We never came for more liquidity. So this shows that this was a key liquidity sweep and basically showed a continuation for lower. And so basically once we've broken that low, we knew that price was going to go down at least minimum the length of the candle. And as we can see, that clearly happened. Now, it's come to my attention that we have had a buy signal down here. And this buy signal is technically indicating a large move higher, right? So we've had our break-in candles, we've had a retest of a monthly fair value gap. So this does show some potential to go higher, which does happen to correspond with this weekly order block. So overall, my targets are bullish, and overall on the monthly, it does show that we're potentially going higher. And another thing is that we've had a transfer of liquidity down in here. If we just drop down onto the weekly, we can see that basically an easy way to look at this is you got your range high, you got your range low, and price basically broke below the range low, took the liquidity of the low, broke back above, and then you basically target higher. So that is a bullish signal, similar to as we had down here, right? We had our range low to high. This would be a range high. This would be a range low from this movement up. And so basically we took out the range low, targeted the range high. Similarly, you can see that we had our range high here and our range low here. If we're looking at this is our range low and this is our range high, we can see that price basically took out our range high, closed back below, targeted range low. Once we took our range low, we can also see on the weekly time frame, we also got our buy signal again. Now this was our buy signal because it came into a fair value gap. Those were our targets. Here was the fair value gap we came into. Price never came back down into this fair value gap. It shows a strong transfer of liquidity. And then we basically continued higher. For now, we did tap into some liquidity here off these highs. So this tap here is basically fueled from this liquidity. So we have our fair value gap, right? Price has been in here. Price has got some orders and continued lower. So that push downwards that we've recently had of around 10% has basically been fueled from this liquidity sweep. Now, ideally, our main liquidity is up here on the maximum of that fair value gap, which also happens to line up with the 50% right here. So it all kind of corresponds with one another. And so that is our key liquidity. But for now, we focus on what we've tapped into. And so I'll just drop down onto the daily time frame. So a few weeks back, I was basically talking about this level here in my Telegram group. about how I was expecting price to potentially come down and push higher. Price did not have to come down to this key level, because it wasn't a very key level, because it was a key level on the daily time frame, but there was no key liquidity sweep here at the highs. That's why we had that push higher. The reason why we had this push higher before coming to the key level is because none of these highs here were key enough for Bitcoin to come lower. They had no significance. Where we had significance was on the weekly time frame on this candle here. Now that's why price ended up going higher and rolling over lower. Now that we've swept this key daily low, initially I was expecting a potential move up into this region here. That's because it's a key 12-hour level. But unfortunately, this isn't very good. Bitcoin has created a new uh, daily level, and the daily time frame is significantly more important than the 12-hour time frame. The 12 hours kind of we can tell what might happen on the daily time frame before it happens, because it's like scaling down into a smaller time frame. You get to see a larger picture of candles. But at the moment, we've created a new daily liquidity level. Previously, our daily liquidity level was somewhere up here. So once we'd taken out this low, our targets were up here. But now that we've created a daily level here, lower in the price leg, there's a high chance that price might roll over and continue lower. Now that's the bearish scenario, and our targets for this would be, if we look at this price leg, would be these lows here, which sits around 28,500, 28,600. And so at the moment I'm waiting. I'm not doing anything. But if I scale down into a smaller time frame, there's nothing on the 4-hour of any significance apart from that key level still remains the same. But if I drop down into 30-minute time frame, see these lows here that are fairly important. So chances are price might trade down throughout the weekend or tonight and then get that move higher. So at the moment, we focus on a potential move lower to catch the move higher. And then once we're up in these regions, we'll look to take profit. But at the moment, I just wait for this move lower. And I'm only going to focus on this move up to here, because this is a move that I'm confident in. Whether that happens from the sweep of these lows and goes higher, I don't know. But I know that this is a key level, so that's what I'll wait for. And that's the move that I will focus on, because there's no point in focusing on 10 moves ahead when you can only act on the move that's going to happen to closest to current date. And so this is what I'm going to focus on at the moment. So yeah, that's the update so far. But once we start getting up until this up to this region, it's key for us to kind of ignore this level and just go higher if we want to see higher prices. But from a technical analysis perspective and the way I do my analysis, this does not line up. This isn't telling me that we take this out and just go to 32,000 like it was a few weeks ago. At the moment, it's showing me that we're going to potentially wick this out and go lower. Now, due to this being a key daily level, the next daily level is all the way down here. And I don't like the look of that, because essentially this means that once we wick out this high, we're looking at a large drop lower. So there is high potential for us to look for shorts for within the next few weeks, or even within this last few days of this week. But at the moment, I'll just focus on the move of this high and to potentially go lower, because it's quite important to focus on one move at a time, especially when you're using a strategy like mine, where you basically go from being bearish to being bullish. So basically, it's almost like a range. So when you're at the range low and you take out a liquidity level, we target the range high. When we're at the range high and we've taken out a key level up here, we target lower. And essentially that's what creates market structure. So you create ranges within ranges. And that's, a lot of people just think that market structure goes like this, very basic, high, 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 low, high, 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 low. But it's actually a lot more in depth than that. So we always create ranges, Within these ranges, we might have a higher high, a higher low, and then we might create a downtrend, have some spikes up, and it will just have draws of liquidities of all the ranges that are created. So that's why I like to use the method of focusing on one move at a time and just capitalizing off that. So yeah, I hope this brought you some value. Cheers.